So Yemen's Ansarullah fighters, also known as Houthis, have stunned Israel and its Western backers by using a new hypersonic ballistic missile for the first time, successfully hitting its target all the way in Israel by covering a distance of over 2,000 kilometers. What's important here is the fact that the ballistic missile fired by Houthis managed to evade Israel's air defense system as Gaza war entered its 12th month. According to Al Jazeera, which to me is the most credible news source on the Gaza conflict, the missile triggered air raid sirens in Tel Aviv and sent the population in Tel Aviv Ben Gurion International Airport and around central Israel desperately looking for shelter. Social media has erupted with photos and visuals, quite dramatic one, of damages to what looked like a bridge and a train station in the central town of Modin and its internal infrastructure, including escalators. I refuse to show these visuals here for fear of being restricted by YouTube and having my video demonetized once again. But you can go to Janta Ka Reporter Telegram channel to see these visuals. Details are there in the description and the pinned comment of this video. So what happened? A panic-stricken Israeli terror group, also known as the IDF, said in a statement, and I quote, "Following the sirens that sounded a short while ago in central Israel, a surface-to-surface missile was identified crossing into central Israel from the east and fell in an open area. No injuries were reported." End of quote. That is a version of the IDF. However, Megan David Adom, which is Israel's emergency services, tweeted on X, formerly known as Twitter, that 9 people had sustained injuries. According to local residents in central Israel, they heard a loud boom sound, but the IDF said that this was the sound resulted from the Israeli missile interceptors. Israel is known for blocking media coverage on such occasions. Not too long ago, when Hezbollah targeted Israel's military installations with its missiles, a ban was allegedly imposed on local media, and they were not allowed to report on the embarrassing development for Israel. How do we know that? British journalist Afshin Rattansi had asked this precise question during his interview with a former Israeli foreign minister. You can watch the full video here.
Why do you think Israel media was banned from reporting on Lebanese resistance strikes on Shin Bet, Mossad, Unit 8200 just in the past few days? Because it was a 5 a.m. reporting restriction in Israel, blackout of all media. Why was the media banned from reporting on these successful resistance strikes on Mossad, Unit 8200 and Shin Bet?
That's a very good question.
A Houthi spokesperson made fun of Israeli military capability, saying that even 20 Israeli interceptor missiles could not detect the ballistic missile fired by them. Houthis military spokesperson Yahya Sari announced that his group had targeted a military position of the Israeli enemy in the Jaffa area, his words, with a new hypersonic ballistic missile that had managed to evade Israel's air defense system. The latest development exposes the invincibility of Israel's so-called Iron Dome provided by the US. What's also embarrassing here is the fact that a militia group from a war-ravaged country, one of the poorest countries in the world, situated so far away from Israel, has managed to expose the military capability of Israel and inflicting injuries and damages. It now makes sense why Blinken had recently changed his tune towards Houthis and was urging Israel that a ceasefire would be in its best interest, adding that this will stop Houthis from attacking Israeli interests.
Here again, the United States has been deeply engaged in trying to advance this diplomacy, but it also underscores why a ceasefire in Gaza is so critical. Hezbollah, of course, has tied what it's doing to the situation in Gaza and has said that if there's a ceasefire in Gaza, it will stop firing. into Israel. Now, it shouldn't be firing to begin with. It's wrong in and of itself, but it's also a reality. So it only underscores why getting that ceasefire could also be critical to further enabling the diplomacy to try to create conditions in which the diplomacy can really resolve this problem, get people back to their homes in Israel, in southern Lebanon, and have something that's more enduring in terms of keeping things calm. By the way, Red Sea, the Houthis, same thing. Iran, Iranian-aligned militia groups. So much of this is tied to Gaza. And I think it underscores why it's clearly in the strategic interests of Israel as well to effectively bring this to a close.
You also have to see the latest development in the proper context. Houthis recently destroyed and captured numerous high-tech US Reaper drones after successfully shooting them down. These drones were no ordinary drones. They were shot down despite their capability of flying at the altitude of 15,000 meters, 15 kilometers. They destroyed a ship carrying more than 1 million barrels of oil in the Red Sea. Pentagon officials said it was on its way to Greece, but there were reports that the ship was heading towards Israel.
Turning to the Red Sea, on September 2nd, Iranian-backed Houthis attacked 2 crude oil tankers transiting this vital waterway. The Panama-flagged and owned Greek-operated motor vessel Blue Lagoon 1 was struck by 2 anti-ship ballistic missiles, and the Saudi-flag-owned and operated motor vessel Amjad was struck by a one-way attack uncrewed aerial system. This, of course, follows the August 21st attack of the Greek-owned motor vessel Delta Sunyan. These reckless attacks of terrorism by the Houthis continued to destabilize regional and global commerce while threatening the lives of innocent civilian mariners as well as maritime ecosystems. Currently, private companies are examining salvage options in the southern Red Sea for the disabled motor vessel Delta Sunyan, which is still on fire and threatens the possibility of a major environmental disaster. The U.S. will continue to work with international partners and allies to protect maritime commerce and mitigate potential impacts to the environment despite the irresponsible and careless actions of the Iranian-backed Houthis.
It's been almost 2 weeks and the US has not been able to gain control of that ship despite its best naval capabilities. That's the fear of Houthis. This was highlighted by the US ambassador only last week in the United Nations Security Council.
Thank you, Mr. President. And thank you, Special Envoy Grunberg, Acting Undersecretary General Masuya, and Ms. Al-Abahi for your briefings. Over 3 months have passed since Houthi militants rounded up scores of UN staff, all of whom were working to bring life-saving assistance to the Yemeni people at the time of their detention. We reiterate Secretary General Guterres and the UN Special Envoy's demands for the immediate and unconditional release of all detainees, including 11 U.S. diplomatic staff members held since 2021. The Houthis continue to not only mistreat these detainees, but also seek to exploit them through the release of so-called confession videos. This shameless propaganda is appalling and should be universally condemned. Houthi intimidation tactics have also increasingly focused on the remaining Yemeni staff of UN agencies and non-governmental organizations. Humanitarian workers in the Houthi-controlled parts of Yemen are increasingly worried about their safety. There is absolutely no justification for the threatening and intimidation of UN workers and others carrying out their lawful humanitarian work. We believe the time is now for the UN to implement adjustments to its non-life-saving programming and operations in Yemen to ensure the safety and security of all personnel. The Houthis' continued attacks against ships in the Red Sea and surrounding waterways also continue to threaten regional peace and security, as well as international navigational freedoms. These continued unjustified actions have already resulted in the tragic deaths of innocent mariners and continue to threaten the lives of member states' citizens and interests of the international community. Every time the Houthis launch an attack, they not only threaten the lives of mariners from many nations, but also risk creating an environmental catastrophe from damage to oil tankers and other ships carrying hazardous materials. The Houthis have made clear They care only about themselves. They are willing to destroy the fishing industry and regional ecosystems that Yemen and other communities in the region rely on for their livelihoods, just as they have undermined the delivery of vital humanitarian aid to the region. The attack on the Soyunyon, which holds over 1 million barrels of crude oil, is only the latest in a long line of examples. The Houthis struck not only the ship, but they set off secondary explosions and posted the videos online. They further threatened salvage crews, complicating an already challenging operation and risking the lives of more mariners. This is unacceptable. The flouting of this Council's Resolution 2722 cannot go unanswered. It is vital every member of this Council condemn the Houthis' escalations and demand that they allow the Soyunyon to be towed from the area without further delays. And Council members should make clear to the Houthis' backers in Tehran that they hold Iran responsible for arming and enabling the Houthis in contravention of Resolution 2216 to carry out reckless attacks such as this one. Again, it is troubling that some Council members remain silent in the face of such obvious threats to shared global interests. Turning back to the situation inside Yemen, our thoughts remain with the families of those who lost their lives and with those now struggling to rebuild as they cope with unimaginable loss from the recent flooding in Yemen. Amid these latest humanitarian challenges, additional support and technical assistance from the United States and other international partners are crucial. The United States has already supported the efforts of the International Organization of Migration to help people in IDP camps in Marib, and we stand ready to help more to ensure the safe and dignified return of internally displaced persons. Colleagues, this is not the time for political posturing and disunity. It is time for the Council to work together to address the political, security, and humanitarian challenges that plague Yemenis.
So Houthis have single-handedly closed the whole of the Red Sea for the US and its allies. And now they are raining missiles in Israel, hitting targets all the way in Tel Aviv. This is indeed a huge development and no doubt a dangerous escalation in the region. Hope war criminal Benjamin Netanyahu realizes what his terror activity in Gaza and in the occupied West Bank has done to the region. Instead of issuing condemnation for Houthis and fake threats, he will be well advised to stop this genocide in Gaza immediately. As I speak, Netanyahu's terrorists have targeted another school in Gaza's Beit Hanun area, killing many children and babies. This is the third school that Israeli terrorists have targeted in the last 5 days. Israel's backers in the US and the UK continue to remain unmoved even after the murder of a US national by the Israeli terrorists. That's the double standard that these countries follow. That's it from me. Thank you very much for your support for this platform on buymecoffee.com and Patreon. If you too think that this platform is worth supporting, then you too should consider being part of this movement. In the meantime, if you haven't subscribed to my channel, please do so, because that's one of the many ways you can support independent journalism. God bless you all.